can plants tell histories? Well, I think to some extent, yes, they can, and they also signify a lot of really our identity as Maori. Let me just show you. I've brought along some plants here, but let me just try and illustrate this. So, just as an example, I come from a tribe called Te Parafo. This is the faux. So, can you see that beautiful leaf, the faux leaf? That's very typical of the faux. Faux, the river, yes, exactly. It's named after the faux. And Mona faux, yeah, where the faux tree grew. So it's a big shrub, you know, it grows quite high, it's got lovely creamy flowers. Some of you might have it in your garden, quite spiky after it, you know, turns into a seed form. I have an ancestor, important leader, his name is Te Tirurau, and he fought another leader from a tribe called Ngāti Wai in the north. And they were fighting in a stream, in a waterway, and my ancestor didn't come up, but the other leader did. So my ancestor drowned. But he was quite a distance away from where our papakainga was, our ancestral settlement. And so in order to preserve the body, they covered it. At that time their name was Ngāhere. They covered the body of Te Tirurau with the faux leaf. All over, his whole body was covered with faux. Can you see how it's got veins in it? If you hold it up to the light, see those veins? When they got to Whatitiri, which is where we come from, outside Ngahere, the leaves had stuck to his body, his face, his whole tinana was all covered with these leaves. They peeled it off and it had these tracery veins all over it that was left, all this marking all over his body. And so, in order to remember that event, our people took on the name Te Parafo, which is the skin of the faux. You know, his skin took on the faux leaf. Do plants tell histories? Well, I think I just told you a history. It's a story, it's important. In the north, pūriri. Ka kata kata ngā pūriri a taia mai. Pūriri it's a gorgeous tree, you know, and okay, it's a bit hard to envisage how this little tiny little thing becomes that gorgeous thing, but I think you know. We all know the pūriri tree with the red berries. And in the north, we have groves of them. You know, like if you drive up to Ohaiawai or up to Hauirua or Kaikohe around there up in the north, you'll see groves of them on farmland, and they kind of glisten in the light. I don't know if you know the phenomenon, but our ancestors did, and they said, this is what that means. Ka kata kata ngā pūriri a taia mai. The pūriri trees of the Bay of Islands, or taia mai, where we come from, are laughing. Ka kata kata. Personhood, emotions, you know. You want to know about the problems, ask Taranaki. Personhood. The river. If you talk to Whanganui people, they say the river is, I am the river and the is me. Total identification with the living form or the organism. Once upon a time, he rākau rangatira. Okay, it's just a seedling. But you know the deal. You go into the Waipawa forest, you stop there and you take a 20-minute walk, is it? And you stand there and you look up at this enormous Agathis australis, Tāne Mahuta, yeah? And once upon a time in Maori cosmology, we say that the tohora, the whale, the sperm whale, was the brother of the kauri. And the sperm whale lived on its feet next to the kauri. The two of them lived together. There was a symbiosis, they were brothers. But the tohora fell in love with the sea or the ocean, and he asked for kauri to join him. And eventually kauri didn't, but they exchanged different things. Kauri gave tohora his oil, and so that became part of the protection of tohora from the cold in the water. yeah? And Toroa gave Cody his skin. So if you look at a Cody tree, it's got this, the skin kind of falls off, yeah? Which comes, we say, comes from Toroa himself. Again, whakapapa, or connections, or genealogies, where as human beings, we are actually not at the centre of this universe. Have any of you seen Leonardo's Vitruvian Man? You know, the Vitruvian Man, he stands and man is at the centre of the universe. And Polynesian way of thinking is actually take man out of the centre, because actually our job is to be custodial, to be kaitiaki over this natural world, and to look after it. We're not there to master it or dominate it, yeah? So it's very different from a corporate take, you might say, on our forests. You know, at one stage you could walk from Tamaki to Porniki without seeing the light, just the forest canopy all the way. So we've had industrial clearances in this country where we've got rid of our ngahere, and we've lost that connection with these really important parts of our identity, so that it's cut off. Where do you go to see a forest? I know it's the Department of Conservation manages it, doesn't it? Yeah. It didn't used to be that way, and so they're islands, I suppose, of culture that once were one whole thing. So we have plants that tell that story of connectedness. This is our wonderful harakeke, Formium tenax, our weavers use it. Oh, here I am trying to copy them. They cut off the outer leaves at an angle so that the rain runs off. And they have protocols and tikanga that go with how they treat it. But in Māori thinking, like the kalo or the taro, do you know Hawaiians and Maori are very similar? The Hawaiians see taro or kalo as a metaphor for whānau. Yeah. Ohana, I think is their name, Ohana. We call it whānau. And this centre shoot here, actually it's here. This is the rito, or the baby. And the surrounding shoots, if you take this as the rito, these side shoots are the Mataatua, the parents of the child, and the tupuna, the grandparents of the child. So the metaphor is one of connectedness, yeah? That we're connected, that this isn't something that is separate. So I'm arguing against my narrative here, which is really a family that breaks down over the kūmara. But really the ideal within these Polynesian societies is that the connectedness is very important. We have an ancestor from my wife's tribal area, her name was Mataatua, and we sometimes use that really well-known whakatauki or proverbial saying, you know, what's the most important thing in the world? Hea, te mea nui, māpu, e ki atu. I would say to you, it is people, it is people, it is people. She was at a stage where her pregnancy was going to be terminated by her own people because they were very unhappy that she married into an enemy tribe, another group. They weren't happy about that. And that was her reply. But there's another part to that proverb that I really like, and I'm going to give it to you. It says, unuhia te rito o te harakeke. If I was to pick out the centre shoot of the harakeke, kei te komako e ko, how will the bellbird sing? How do I that? If I was to take out the centre shoot or the baby, kill it off, how will the bellbird sing? Have you ever seen a harakeke when it's in flower? All the birds come, they get that rusty powder all over their beak. The bellbird has this beautiful song, yeah? The bellbird isn't going to visit the ecosystem if it's not being looked after. So we have this obligation, if you like, to look after our world. our surrounding world, Te Ao Tūroa, the world that we belong to. So there's another story that's being told by a beautiful plant. Yeah, how will the bellbirds sing? I come from a place called Poroti. Where? Oh, it's near Whatitiri. Oh, you mean that hill? No, it's a volcano. Oh, it looks like a hill to me. It's just outside Wairaka, about 40 minutes, and our ancestors, they cut you can imagine a cabbage tree, a big cabbage tree. They cut the branches off the cabbage tree to celebrate the joining of our ancestors with tainui, because we've been fighting with them. So it's like a wedding protocol, if you like. So our village is called Poroti, the cutting of the tea. Don't know if it's got anything to do with the tea on the Mataatua, but that might be another story. But there's another plant telling a history or talking about identity. And the kūmara itself, yeah. This show, I'm just going to grab something on the table over there to help illustrate this point. So this is among other things, this was a Nico frond that I've transformed, and it has the kūmara plant in it. So there's the story that I wanted to work with. A lot of these pieces in this show are about the story of the Mataatua, but the Mataatua stopped at Rangihīroa. That's the Kermadec Islands, a little further north of Aotearoa. And they refurbished the waka, probably got water and other things. And so this is a connection, again, that I'm making with the journey of the Mataatua, and also the kūmara, which is encoded into it, which was carried on board the vessel. So, nā reira, ka nui te kōrero, kua hui mai tata, I tēnei pō, kia ora mai anō tata katoa. If there's anything that you want to kōrero about with the actual pieces themselves, let me know. It's all for sale. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening to my kōrero about my plants. And it's a special story, or a wānanga, I think. It's called here Mauri because Maori is not just the life principle of plants and living organisms, but also our stories themselves. So our narratives have Maori, like they also have a life force. So that was important to point that out as well.
Kia ora.